Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Sorry for the delay.
Hey
Uh,
guys, I'm
a
having
few
deja
technical
vu.
issues, issues, and an idiot in the driver's seat here. So we were sitting there talking for 15 minutes, and I
Wait, hold
forgot
on. Where's my finger? This
to
thing
hit go
doesn't
live.
do.
So starting it all over again.
I'm Lori.
Oh, gotta love it. And I'm Corey, and we're the Carnivore Journey crew.
Cardboard Journey Crew.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to burn through this real quick because so we can
Wasted
get on with the
14
show.
minutes. Yeah, let's do
Yeah, I
it.
know, just wasted it and just completely messed things up. All right, here we go. 168 days into carnivore. I'm down 60, what did I say? 64 pounds. Um, that's my update. Busted through that barrier that I was at 2 weeks ago when we did it. Talked about it. So I'm finally below 250. Um, so that's a good thing. Lori,
Okay, so obviously you guys see that we are not in the same place.
oh
I'm
yeah,
stuck
we
at
haven't
work.
talked about that.
Yeah. And so we're gonna try not to talk over each other. Well, I'm gonna try not to talk over Corey because, like I said earlier, sometimes he talks a little slow and or slower, not and not in any bad way or anything. He just, he takes more time speaking his words than I do. I'm like, it comes to my head, oh, it comes right out, and I talk kind of fast. So I apologize to him in advance and everybody else in advance if I do talk over him. So for me, I hit 26 pounds down lost. It's point 0.9, so I'm like, yeah, I mean, literally, I just teetered. So, but I'll take it. Also, just as a recap, I bought pants a couple months ago that were a size that I was just fitting into, and when I tried them on, they didn't fit. And they fit now, and they're a little looser in the butt and the legs. The gut is still the gut, but however, that is a non-scale victory. I will take it.
Awesome. And as I said earlier, I'm off my, well, as I said when we weren't going live, um, when weren't actually live, I'm off my blood pressure medicine. I'm off my meloxicam for arthritis in my left knee. I have no heartburn anymore. It's completely gone. Um, I'm down, I don't know how much in sizes. So lots of victories there. Feeling great, moving forward. 168 days carnivore. And if you haven't subscribed, guys, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That really helps us out a lot. I think the algorithm's been playing with us for the past month or so because our views and watch time are down about half of what they were the 28 days before that. So if you want to make sure that you see our content whenever we put it out, go ahead and do that. And if you like, hit the thumbs up button. It means a lot to us, helps
It
us
does.
stay motivated to keep doing this. And put comments in. If you're watching it live, drop something in the chat box. If you're watching it on a replay, leave us a comment and let us know what you think.
Ask us questions too if you got any questions.
Yeah, we'll be glad to answer any questions that we can.
Hmm.
All right. So one other thing that I want to get out of the way before we get started into the subject of this video is our group cruise. So this November, we are going on a 7-day cruise on the Holland America New Amsterdam for Lori's birthday. So if you want to join us for a meetup at sea, you can contact Amy at EECC Travels. That's our travel agent. And I just mentioned the Mountains to Sea Crew group cruise. That is our other channel, our travel channel. And she can get you all the booking details. We'd love to have you along, meet you guys, and show you all the secrets of how to stay carnivore while cruising.
Yes. And you can hang out with us. I mean, that's not too bad,
Yeah,
right?
hang out with us. That's not too bad. Yeah. So there are going to be other carnivores there, I am sure, but there are going to be some friends and family and other people. We
We're
decided to
not.
make this group cruise because there are certain perks that you get. We get free stuff, for the cruise line.
Not just us, but yeah.
Everybody that goes gets free stuff from the cruise line because we're part of a group. So
Hmm.
great way to do it, and thought this might be a neat way to have a meetup and a long-term meetup too. You actually get to really know people and make friends and things like that. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, on to the subject of
We had such a
navigating
good
challenges.
transition to get into our topic
Yeah,
too
I
before.
know.
And
So, speaking of cruises, uh, navigating mistakes. Our first two cruises, we made some mistakes on them, and a lot of those mistakes were basically, dealing with our own addictions and our own food cravings and having all that stuff around us and then caving into it, making bad choices, and ultimately paying the price for it, suffering the consequences. The first cruise, I was in bad shape and I didn't feel well, had heartburn, had really bad leg cramps at night, and ended up taking a nap in the middle of the afternoon one day, completely unlike me. And it was all a result of the choices I made. So, you got anything to say about that?
are we talking just the first cruise, or are we talking both cruises in general?
You can talk about cruises.
Because the first cruise, although I had dessert, I had ice cream more than anything else. The second cruise was what I wanted to talk about more because that's where I had more of an effect, and it was a longer cruise too. But um, although I walked a lot, because that's what you do, and the movement was actually excellent, and I really tried to. I ate desserts, but halfway through I started eating desserts and kept going there. I had a lot of inflammation, and that's kind of for me, like for you on the first cruise, you were physically feeling bad, and you had leg
Right.
cramps and stuff like that. Other than feeling a little bloated because I wasn't drinking enough water and stuff, I had huge inflammation. My ankles were swollen, and I have never had that before. And so for me, that was something different. That was a realization that I could visibly see, but I wasn't feeling terrible per se. I mean, it was achy, like it came back. So like you get up and you're like, oh, it takes a minute. You're stiff. You gotta kind of walk it out. And being on carnivore and not having that inflammation, I don't have those um, little aches and pains that way. So that was what how I realized that I was doing things not properly.
Yeah. And so that's one mistake that we've made. Uh, how do we handle that? How do we make it better going forward? And that's the question that everybody asks. And I think to some extent, it comes down to making the decision that uh, these choices that you make in those areas um, are are not good for you, and you're going to regret them ultimately. So you make a better choice and move forward. So um,
Sorry.
yeah, as you can see, Laurie is still at work, and we got people coming into the office that need things. So um, that's
Uh,
what happens when you have live video. Uh, but anyway,
Anything can happen. But I would like to talk about how I navigated, but I'll kind of wait if you've got something else you'd like to.
no, go right ahead.
Okay. Um, so being that, sorry, I was just waiting for them to leave leave the office. So being that I realized that, for me, on the first cruise, I gained 5 pounds, but I didn't have too much visual or pain or anything like that. The second cruise was longer, and so I guess I, made bad choices for a longer period of time. but inflammation arose, I think I said that right. And so that was, with the aches and the pains and, the stiffness and then the swelling and all that. Um, when I came came back, we came back, what, 2 days after the cruise, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
So I
something like
didn't
that.
weigh right away. And so I don't know if by cutting all of that out when we came back and got back on track, did that help? Because when I weighed when I got back, I didn't gain or lose anything. But I was much more swollen. I had much more issues in my body. And so that reminds me of like, okay, I don't want to do that again. Like try not to eat so badly and make sure I'm drinking my water,
Right.
or staying
And
hydrated, I should say.
that's a real key. I think one of the biggest things that you got to remember is that if you fall down, get back up,
Hmm.
um, and get back up as soon as you can,
Yes, don't
and get
beat
back
yourself
on
up.
things. Don't beat
Hmm.
yourself up, but also don't let yourself fall into the trap of, oh, well, I got this going on, I got that going on. I'll start again next month or
Mm-mm.
whatever. Because if you start doing that, start putting it off and putting it off, you'll never go back to it. And then you'll
Start
be
as
off
soon
for
as you
6
can.
months.
Yep.
Right. As soon as you realize that you don't want to be in this place anymore, that's the point to make the decision. Okay, I'm going to get rid of all the junk. If you bought stuff that you shouldn't need, I'm going to get rid of it and I'm going to get back on track right now. Don't put it off, because if you put it off, that's the best way in the world to just completely give up for an extended period of time. Because if you put it off once, you can put it off again, and then you put it off again, and then then you end up gaining back any weight that you lost, or you know, regaining some of those health problems that you got rid of. So those are things that you don't want to
And for me, I'm a self-sabotager. I've always been a self-sabotager. And so when I go through that, in the past, because I'll go to where I am now, but in the past, I was always like, oh, well, I already did it, so I might as well just go for it. If you're going to do it, do it. And so, and then I would beat myself up, and I'd be like, oh God, I feel so bad, or I'm gaining weight, or I look terrible, and all that stuff, and I just try not to do that, like you are most of the time you are going to feel bad when you start eating all of the sad diet foods. And so when you realize that, or when you feel it, I mean, pay attention to that and remember that for next time. So that will help you when you're looking at that dessert or wherever your weakness is, and you're like, you know what, that looks good, but I don't want to feel like that anymore. Like every day I feel light. I feel good. I mean, like you're not heavy and you're not bloated and you're like, blah, you're walking around like this. You got a fog in your head. No, now you're like, oh wow, I feel great. I can think. I've got some clarity. So try not to beat yourself up. Just acknowledge, look, I made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. It's okay. But then just say, you know what? I'm going to make a better choice. My next meal, whatever the next thing is, I'm going to make a better choice. Maybe it's not the best choice, but it's better than the one before it. And then the next one, now, okay, you're kind of taking that step forward. You know what? I'm going to make a better choice. Make the best choices you can with what you have, even if it's not the best choice. Because at that point, you're like, you know what? You did good. You made the better choice out of the choices you had, and appreciate that for yourself. Look, good job, you did it. It's not easy to do, but you did it.
do. That's for sure. Like they say, we're not after perfection. We're just after doing better. And
Yep.
you've got to focus on that. Um,
And it's
so
not easy, but we can do it, and we're all going to
yeah,
support each other. Corey and I support each other. We support you by you subscribing, watching it. You support us, and we have that community that helps each other, because everybody's going to go through a rough time here, there, or the other, where you're going to make whatever. but as long as you kind of just remember, hey, you know what? I'm on this for the long haul. So that one meal, yeah, okay, I made a bad choice, but I've got all of these days in front of me to make the right choices.
Yeah, that's true. So let's talk about other mistakes or things that we can navigate.
Okay?
Um, all right, so I'll bring up one. Um, Before going carnivore, not every day, but with some consistency, I would end my day at work and go upstairs to our tap room, sit down in the bar and have a couple of beers, chat with the folks that were hanging out there, um, hang out with some people and interact with them maybe for an hour while I was enjoying a beer, maybe some food or something, if depending on what was going on. Well, when I went carnivore, I stopped doing that, and um, we've talked about this before about um, I made the statement that if it takes being antisocial to stay carnivore, then be antisocial. Well, that can have some consequences as well.
And we were
Um,
called out on that.
yeah, and we were called out on that this week by someone that I've known for 6 years. Consider always considered a good friend. And this person told me that we hardly gave him the time of day anymore, and it seemed like a chore for us to talk to him. And um, so it kind of hurt between that and some other things that were said. It was hurtful. Um, and it's not entirely a result of going carnivore, but that has some bearing on it as well, because um, uh, we're not as involved socially as we once were, because all of those social interactions were revolved around sitting around, and having alcoholic beverages with friends and
Or
customers and
food.
other people, or food. And we don't drink anymore for the most part. We don't eat the most of that stuff. Um, so we just have kind of removed ourselves from that situation, and that can have consequences. And in this case, it certainly did. I mean, it had a significant effect on that relationship. Uh, that's kind of one of the things that you have to consider in this. Is what's more important. If that relationship's more important than your health, um, and I don't know. What's
Well,
your thoughts on that?
and I wouldn't, I hesitate to say, is the relationship more important than your health? It's not that. It's more of, can you sustain where you're at and have those relationships? Because social gatherings are probably one of the toughest things that we have to conquer or be a part of. And so if you're beginning in this and you're still having the cravings and you're still having a hard time being a carnivore, and so those social settings are probably not healthy for you. And so it's not that the relationship is not as important as your health or whatever, but you're at a point where you're not ready to do that. And so uh, as you get on this journey and you start, you get stronger, you get a little more confident, you kind of know what you're doing and stuff. But still, social gatherings are hard. We talked about all of the holiday, family gatherings and
Right.
stuff like that. It's all the same. And I'm going to share something that happened to me tonight, which is kind of on this thing. I had a meeting to go to, which was supposed to be an hour, and it ended up being 2 hours, which is why I'm still at work. But so there was a participant there that bought 3 appetizers and put them on the table for everybody to indulge in. And I sat there and I looked at it, I was like, oh, I was like, oh, okay, it's this, and that. And then, I was like, okay, nah, you don't want it, right? I don't eat that. And then I don't know how much time went by, but again, 2 hours with these sitting, like literally this far away from me. They were not far. And I was like, well, maybe if I just take the breading off, and then I was like, no, that's not meat. You don't eat that. And like, so in my head, as we're in our meeting, like, I'm like, oh, well, you could just, and no. So I kept telling myself, no, you don't want that. No, you don't eat that. And I just drank my water, which is now empty. And I'm so thirsty right now. So it's still a struggle for me, even this far along, to be in those social settings when everybody's eating it, and and not do it. I didn't want to. I didn't, I just, I'm not fully satiated because I haven't had dinner or anything, but at the same time, I was thinking it, but I didn't really want it. And so it's just those, those mind games.
Right. And a lot of it, sometimes it can come down to habits. You have
Hmm.
food sitting in front of you that you subconsciously know is available to you and free to anyone. And, you find yourself reaching for something just because it's a habit. It's what you've always done.
Hmm. In front of
And,
you. One
you
won't
know,
hurt. Yeah.
yeah, oh, one's okay. And maybe it is, maybe for you, that's fine. For other people, it's
Right.
going to trigger them down a slippery slope, and they're not going to
Hmm.
recover from it for
Right.
a good long time.
Right.
For me, I tend to try to avoid those situations, which is why, those of any of you guys that have watched us for any length of time, you know that we work in a brew pub, and you know, I don't drink beer anymore. Don't drink cider anymore. I make it every day, but um, I try not to be around it, and so that has had some effect on those relationships, and I'm gonna have to figure out a way to remedy that, and that is a
Navigating.
challenge and navigate it.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Um, it's what I felt was best for me at the time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there won't be consequences and negative reactions to it. So, um, but it's a challenge and can be stressful, especially when you encounter those type of things, and that stress is not good for your ultimate health goals either. So,
Hmm. And I'm going to a funeral this weekend. And I've been sitting here thinking, okay, what am I going to bring? Because I'm going to get in late and they want to eat dinner like after 9 o'clock. And I don't necessarily want to eat that late. So I'm like, all right, I'm not going to be eating for a long period of time. And I'm like, all right, maybe I'll bring some, pre-cooked bacon, or, I'm trying to think of ways to keep me from wanting to indulge in other areas that I know I don't want to.
I'm sure you can get the kitchen to cook you off a couple of pans of bacon.
Oh, I didn't think of that. I didn't even think of that.
There you go.
Put them in a bag and put it in my purse.
Put 'em
My
in a
purse
Ziploc.
bacon.
Yep, first bacon.
Yeah.
That's that's you know, don't let good be the enemy of, or don't let perfect be the enemy of good, or I forget the saying, but you know, don't strive for perfection so much that you don't take a good choice uh,
Mhm.
over just giving up completely.
Right.
Um, it
Make the
may not
best
be
choice
perfect,
with what you have.
but you make the best choice with what you have. And you see that a lot in some of the Facebook groups and forums and things like that. And it's a it's a difficult thing to manage because people are wanting to be carnivore and some of them want to do it the right way and want to be, a good elimination diet carnivore where they're getting rid of anything that can cause inflammation and other stuff. And others are just kind of uh, working around the fringes and may not really know what carnivore is or not understand it very well. And so you get people ask questions, and then other people come out and like, no, that's not carnivore. That's not carnivore. You shouldn't be eating this. You shouldn't be eating that. But at the same time, start where you are. Whatever it is, it's going to be better than the way you used to eat, the standard American diet, and work towards what's going to make you feel the best.
Yes, because
And
at the end of the day, you have to do what's good for you.
right. And not everybody has a negative reaction to spices. You don't know until you try to eliminate them and then
Hmm.
add them back. I've been through that uh, early stages of carnivore. I basically eliminated all spices. It was just meat and salt, and that was it. And I didn't notice any changes in the way I was going through stuff, so I started adding the spices back. Didn't make any difference. So I said, okay, for me, spices are okay. Um, Heavy whipping cream. I was having that in my coffee, and it seemed to be causing some issues. So I eliminated it, and things seem to get better. So it's not that I necessarily am going to never have it, but it's not going to be a daily part of what I eat. So it is.
I was yawning.
Oh,
I was trying to hide it.
it's been a long day
Yes.
for both of us. But um, so navigating mistakes. Any other points that you want to make, or mistakes that you can think of that we need to highlight in this? And if you
I
got
think
any
we've,
questions, drop it
sorry.
in the comments. Actually, it looks like oh, there's Christy. She's here. That was about
Hi,
5 minutes ago.
Christy.
Here.
I think we hit on a lot of the points for what we've experienced and how we've kind of got through it because you know we that first cruise we took a couple of days and then we're like, oh, I don't want to do that again. So then the second
Right.
cruise we're like, okay, we're going to do better this time, but then we still didn't do great, and then we're like, you know what, I don't want to do that again. So each step, like a stepping stone, kind of helps
Right.
us. It I don't know, helps us with the confidence of like, no, you know what, I don't want to do that. I don't want to feel that way. And so that's
Right.
the important thing.
And the second cruise, we made it about halfway through the cruise before we started breaking uh, breaking our stride and
Carnivorism.
shouldn't. Uh, but at the same time, we had a lot of packages and things that were paid for in advance, and like, oh, we're going to take
Yeah.
advantage of them, and you know, one thing leads to another, and you've got all that food in front of you, and
Yeah.
you make bad choices, and you pay the price for it. So,
Yep.
um, but that's just an additional motivation to do better, at least for me, to do better the next time, because we're a week and a half from getting on board the largest cruise ship in the world, and and can't wait. It's going to be a great time, and we might we might be able to take you guys along. We'll see. We'll see if we can still do our Wednesday live stream at sea,
Yes.
because
And
I think we are going
just
to be at sea that day.
I don't know off the top of my head. The only advice that I'm going to leave y'all with before we close it up is just remember, there's always a next meal. You know, one meal at a time, one day at a time. If you can't do it with the meal and you wait until the next day, then start the next day. You can always make a better choice, whether it's your next meal, the next day, whatever it is.
Yeah, but you got to make that choice, and
Hmm.
don't put it off. Don't put off that choice to correct the mistake. So
Yeah, you
there's
can do
always
it.
ways to do it. You know,
Hmm.
sometimes you can't find anything, and your only real option is to fast, if or a break plan. So, um, and that's not always an option for some people, but if you can, that's something that you could consider. Um, or get those fast food burgers. Not not the not the first choice for a lot of people because without anything on them, they don't necessarily taste that great. But um, you can do that. But ultimately, it comes down to making the decision to do things the way you should do it. And if you make a mistake, pick yourself up, try to correct it. If it's a mistake with people, like I'm talking about, um, well, try to correct it. If it can't be corrected, um, sometimes people just aren't going to support you, and sometimes people um, are maybe they're jealous of your progress. Maybe they want you to be like you've always been, and but we're making changes in our lives. We're trying to move forward and be healthier, and sometimes people don't give you the support that you need. So, anything else?
No,
All right, guys. Well, I guess that's it for this week. Like I say, if you got any questions or comments, please put them down in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up button. Let us know that you watched and enjoyed. And subscribe if you haven't. Until next week, remember, stay strong,
stay stay
stay
strong,
motivated,
stay motivated, and eat the meat.
and eat meat. Next week, guys. See ya.
Bye.